Imagine the shock when people finally noticed that without CaitlinClark on the floor, the WNBA's ratings were free-falling. The league, which had been riding a wave of unprecedented tension, is now confronting a harsh reality. The momentum they've been bragging about seems to depend almost entirely on one player. Since Clark's groin injury took her off the court, there's been a glaring decline in interest, and the timing couldn't be worse, especially after the All-Star break, where expectations should be ramping up. The drop-off is faster than a late-game collapse by a shaky team, and suddenly the league's golden narrative is cracking under pressure. It begs the question, is there really enough star power in the WNBA to carry the league when its marquee attraction isn't available? Ratings are plummeting, with some broadcasts barely pulling viewership levels that even minor college events can surpass. The whole business model was built on a single formula: CaitlinClark versus Angelreese. That was the draw, the reliable headline, the one matchup you didn't need a fancy marketing campaign to sell. Just plug it in 5 times this season, put it on TV, and watch the numbers roll in. But now with both of those stars sidelined, it's exposed the fragile structure beneath the surface. To be fair, the numbers weren't always bad, at least not compared to pre-Clark eras. But the concern isn't where they are, it's where they're heading. Clark has been out with a groin strain, a tricky soft tissue injury that requires real healing, not just taping it up and pushing through. Reese has also missed time, which meant that last Saturday's blockbuster matchup between Indiana and Chicago featured neither of its central stars. The result? The lowest-rated game between those two teams since Clark entered the league. This isn't just a minor ratings dip. This is a nosedive. Networks and advertisers notice this kind of drop, and you can bet that WNBA Commissioner Cathy Engelbert does too. Let's run through the numbers. Their first meeting this year drew 2.7 million average viewers, peaking at 3.1 million. That was massive, up over 100% from the previous season's averages on the same network. Game 2 still held strong with nearly 2 million viewers, and was among the top regular season games in over 20 years. But then came the third matchup, and the audience dropped to 1.5 million. That meant over 1 million people had tuned out since the first game. And this past weekend, just 1.3 million. The steady decline is impossible to ignore, from over 3 million at the peak to barely over 1 million in a matter of weeks. More than 1.4 million viewers lost since late May. That's not seasonal attrition. That's a market correction. The worst part is, this isn't isolated to Clark's games. Without her, other games have been cratering. One WNBA game drew just 180,000 viewers. Another was even lower at 160,000. These are not numbers that suggest a booming product. These are numbers that suggest dependency on one player. The league has essentially become addicted to the Clark effect. When she plays, numbers spike. When she doesn't, numbers collapse. It's not a sustainable model. Worse, there's no sign the league prepared for this. They've leaned so hard into promoting her as the face of the league that when she's gone, there's no plan B. And what's equally troubling is how her injury timeline has been handled. First listed as day-to-day, then out indefinitely, then reportedly returning on August 12th, then downgraded again. Now we're hearing she's not even practicing. So why was she listed as a game-time decision? It's a PR move, plain and simple. Float the possibility of her return to get fans watching or buying tickets. It's a tactic that works once or twice, but after that, fans wise up and start to feel manipulated. And when that happens, trust erodes. This groin injury isn't something you rush, especially with how physically other teams play her. Clark is getting more contact than some NFL receivers, yet the whistles rarely come. There have been obvious fouls, grabs, bumps, hacks that don't get called. And if you ask whether she'd still be playing right now if she got the same treatment as, say, Paige Buecher's, the answer is almost certainly yes. With more protection, she wouldn't have had to absorb the physical toll that sidelined her. Without her, the Fever have no identity. Fans aren't tuning in for ISO possessions from secondary players. They're not waking up excited to see bench role players take over prime time. And they're definitely not here for the wildly inconsistent officiating that seems to let Clark get beat up every night with no consequence. The crazy part is how avoidable this was. The WNBA had months to adjust officiating standards, to send a message to the refs, to say, "We need to protect our stars." Instead, they let her get repeatedly targeted. And now, the cost is visible on every ratings chart across ESPN, ABC, and CBS. Because while hardcore fans may stick around, the casuals, the viewers that drive TV deals and advertising dollars, are drifting away. They're forming new habits. They're finding other things to watch. And once that happens, it's incredibly hard to reverse. If you lose someone's weekly attention, you often lose it for good. The damage isn't just short-term. It could stretch into next year's TV negotiations. No network wants to lock into big-money deals with a product that completely collapses when one athlete misses time. The WNBA has been marketing as if Clark is the league, and the TV ratings are making that narrative dangerously real. That's a problem, because the WNBA does have talent. There are incredible athletes who, if promoted right, could become legitimate draws. But without giving them real spotlight time, they become background noise. And when Clark isn't available, there's no one left to carry the baton. That's the risk of putting all your eggs in one basket. Without her, there's no next person up. There's just a void. Even the most hyped matchups now feel flat, and with Reese also out, there's no rivalry to lean on. Just mid-tier teams playing uninspired basketball in front of shrinking national audiences. The product without Clark isn't just less exciting, it's visibly worse. Offenses don't flow. Games get clunky. The visual appeal vanishes. And in the entertainment business, appeal is everything. What's the short-term fix? Tease the return. Show her warming up, smiling, signing autographs. Leak videos of light workouts. Keep the audience believing she's almost back. That might buy some time. But in the long term, the WNBA must fix the officiating. They must protect their stars, because if the entire league's momentum rests on one player's availability, then the foundation isn't growth, it's fragility. You can't keep pretending things are booming when ratings fall off a cliff without Clark on the floor. That's not growth. That's a liability. And any business that depends on one person is a bad day away from crisis. Owners know it. Networks know it. Advertisers definitely know it. And if Clark misses more time, say 2 more weeks, the ratings will sink further and casual fans might not come back. Even when she returns, if the numbers don't instantly jump back to 2.5 million, it proves the illusion is over. That this isn't a league on the rise, it's a league hanging by one thread. Look at the broader landscape. The playoffs are looming, but without the Clark effect, will anyone watch? If her return doesn't spike viewership, what excuse does the league have left? You can't keep selling potential when the numbers say otherwise. This isn't a hate piece. This is a reality check. The WNBA has amazing athletes, but it also has a marketing problem, a protection problem, and a dependency problem. Clark's injury has simply exposed it all at once. If you take away your main draw and everything else falls apart, you don't have a healthy product. You have a single point of failure. And that's where the league is now. Sheer dependency. And if Hollywood buzzing has learned anything, it's that once fans feel duped or bored, they don't hesitate to walk away, and they rarely come back.